Tim, I have a question for you.
Send it, Donna.
Do you remember the when you knew you were done with the military?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, I can still feel it in my guts. Ugh.
Tell me about it.
Well, I was in my driveway and I couldn't go in to speak to my then wife. And so I just had a conversation full of words with another Special Forces soldier. And he basically said to me, Tim, there is nothing you can do to change the collective's idea of you. You can't
Hmm.
fight the army.
Hey everyone, I'm Donna Hoffmeyer, host of Beyond the Front Line, and welcome to Collective Collaborations. This is where we stop skimming the surface and start digging deep. Each series, we take one specific topic that matters to our community and we break it down piece by piece with the experts who actually get it. Our current collection is Fuck, I Thought I Was the Only One. Veteran and Breathworks in Bed founder Tim Thomas and I look at the invisible weight we carry out of high-stress careers, from chronic pain and isolation to survival mode anger, and how we use tactical breathwork to physically change our biology, turn off the alarm, and actually heal. Let's get into it. Did you get out as a retirement, or did you get out because you had to get out, or life choices, or
Well, I had, well, you'd probably say undiagnosed PTSD. I had my physical injuries, but pain was just normal, and culture of just anti-inflammatories. You took a handful every morning just to get through the day. So it wasn't the injuries. It was probably the unseen PTSD that was by triggered by the awareness that if I stayed in that location, then that would mean agreeing with their sense of my self-worth.
so were you like in trouble, or were you just not aligning anymore with what was going on, or
Well, the situation was we'd just finished deployment to Afghanistan. I do really well in the field. I'm a bit clunky on base. I don't really fit in with military culture per se, but when we're outside the wire, guys could see, wow, Tomo really knows his stuff. But
not uncommon though? Very
yeah,
common with
and
the subcultures and operational, like true operational level people. Yeah.
so after this deployment, I'm like, great. I've got my brothers around me. I've got a job for life. And then something happened. I disagreed with the rank,
Hmm.
and I got transferred to a new company, doesn't sound like much, but I was a private coming through the ranks, and I just earned my stripes in this one particular commando company I was with.
Yeah.
And then when I got transferred to a new one, it was starting from the bottom again. But these guys were about to deploy to Afghanistan. So I'm like, you know what? That's okay, because I proved myself. I do well outside the wire. But then when I rocked up there, the platoon commander and the senior NCOs came up to me and literally said, "We've fucking heard about you, cunt."
Oh,
Yeah.
aren't
And
they nice?
I'm like, I'm not scared to die, but I know what's going to happen next. I'm going to be the guy that goes through the door first every time. And which means on operations, you go to areas, you've got to through doors, breach entry, and there could be a child being held by a woman behind the door, or there could be a machine gun. You don't know. And I thought, well, they're going to send me through the door first. If I die, they're going to write up this lovely bullshit letter to my family saying he was the greatest soldier ever. We all loved him. I'm like, I'm not scared of dying, but I'm not going to die for people that
Yeah.
don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
And so I was literally having this conversation in my driveway with another mate, and he says, Tim, there's nothing you can do to change their mind.
Mm.
And if you stay there, you're going to agree with them. And so the idea of having a job for life, getting ripped out from underneath me, but the devastating realization that I can't stay here. And where I was, I moved a couple of thousand kilometers to get that job, and my family was set up in that particular area. So if I was to make that decision, I would have to uproot everybody and everything. But so I go inside, and as you can imagine, my then wife was of the awareness that we're going to be here for a long time. We've set up here as a family, you know,
Yeah.
kids in schools and all that sort of stuff. And I just had to say, look, here's what happens, and if I stay here, then that means, like I said, agreeing with their sense of my self-worth. And she was good about it. She was good about it. She
She
completely
supported
supported me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, she supported me. That was an absolute credit to her. So the next day, I rolled in there and said, well, here's my discharge papers.
Can you, so in the military, we can do what's called a 7 day opt out. So
Mm.
like I I can drop paperwork and say I'm out in 7 days. You have
Oh,
that
absolutely
option.
not.
Unless you owe time. If we owe time for education or time for schooling, something where you owe time, you don't get that luxury. You have to do all your commitments first. But how does it work for you guys? You said, I'm done. How does that work?
Well, once you've done your 4 years, 4 years is the minimum term in Australia. I was up to 6 years,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's a 6 month discharge process.
Oh,
And
wow.
you're given your discharge papers, and it's just papers and papers of boxes you've got to tick to say you've handed in this kit, you've spoken to that person, you've had that interview, you've seen that medical thing, you've checked through all your items, and the medical process alone is
Oh, the
like,
checklist. Yeah, we
yeah,
do have to do the checklist stuff, but the 7 day opt out doesn't afford a lot of stuff. It's
no, no,
you're saying
no,
you're done. But nonetheless, like that's the only way I saw the civilian world, like we can't just quit. If we quit, it's like literally 7 day op, it's like boom, boom. We don't
mm,
have that option to walk away. It's not that easy. The 7 day opt out is our only way to do it. But for you, once you submit that, then you have about 6 months left to
yeah,
separate.
to
So then
separate.
you have
But the
to, did
thing,
they deploy while you were separating? Or did you have to deploy
no,
with them?
I was put in a what's called a discharge platoon because they thought
Ah,
we got to separate these guys out of the platoon because who knows, the thoughts in our head might infect others, and they don't want us, you know, infecting the rest of the platoon with leaving, right? And you get I got very stuck in, okay, here's what's needed of me, I'm going to do that, tick the box. Here's what's needed of me, do that, tick the box, right? And I didn't realize that when I got out and I was in that, okay, here's what you need to do it. I realized that I didn't just lose a job when I left the military. I left the thing that told me who I was, told me the things to do to live a purposeful life, that sense of measurement, that my role mattered, that my team needed me. All these unseen things, you wake up and you actually have a purpose. Right or wrong, you're doing it with a bunch of guys that you're connected with. And then when it's gone, there's this silence that replaces the mission, the things to do. And that was actually quite dangerous for me because I thought, and I'm sure a lot of veterans do too, that I was failing at civilian life because all these things that were unseen that the military gave me, when they're no longer there, I couldn't quite name them, but it was certainly impacting the amount of alcohol I drank.
so you just nailed what we're talking about. We have done this whole series and we have done it. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about anger. We've talked about all these things. And this is the why. Why what you do with the breath work. Does that make sense? What you do. But what you are doing with breath work, why this is so important because When you're done, you said now it's the silence. And I was going to say to that, and the man in the mirror, because for the first time, you're looking in the mirror without a laundry list of things going on. Like, I got to get here to do this. I got to go do that. I got to pack for deployment. I got to make sure this. I got to worry about my mate. I got to whatever. Constant family, kids, blah, all of it. So we're never really looking at ourselves. We're just looking at it, make sure we brush our teeth and we don't have something between it and our hair is not a mess and we're in rags for uniform. We're never looking in the mirror until we're done. And then this work
It's
side
funny
fades
how
away.
there's also a transition of strength where in the military we often pride ourselves on how much physical load we can handle. And, but then that ability to carry load gets transferred onto all these unseen, silent things that we can't quite name, like the loss of purpose, the loss of connection to friends. There's that vacuum inside of us, and we think, well, we'll just tolerate this and shoulder it, and I've got through another day, and somehow I've given myself a sixth sense of reward because there's all these unseen factors in my life that I can't quite name, but I certainly feel the pain of stacking up. But I'm going to do what I was trained to do. If the pack's heavy, just grit your teeth and keep going.
Well, there's a mission. You got to complete a mission, right? So we're on this mission. So and mentally and physically, I mean, we deploy, we go to
Yep.
places. We have to complete this task. We have to get that done. We have an operation to be part of. We whatever this is, we've got to do it. But then the day comes when none of the like literally overnight, like none of that exists. And me and my little data points. So I was looking at some uh, different studies. 2025 study, it was about veteran identity crisis, and they found that 56% of transitioning service members struggle with a significant loss of identity. And that's a huge drive for post-service depression. 56%. And do we not, you go in a whole group of people of veterans and first responders. I'm sure that number is not hugely different in the first responder world either. And you talk with them and you are going to hear somewhere along there, I just don't know what my purpose is, or I feel like I've lost my value, or just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what I'm doing. I have no idea. Like it, we hear
Yeah,
it
there's all
all
those
the
things that are
time.
now filling the backpack, all these unseen, unspoken things now filling the backpack and weighing us down. And here's the crazy thing. When in doubt, overachieve, work extra hard. I'm in pain right now, but I've somehow got to get this job and do extra stuff to compensate for this imbalance that I'm feeling, but I can't speak to. So I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of veterans, and it normally takes about 18 months to either exhaust themselves or they'll re-enlist. They'll get on civilian street. They'll think, I'll get a job. I'll be right. I'll overwork. I'll overachieve. I'm feeling all these other things weighing me down in this invisible backpack that nobody told me about. They're filled with loss of purpose, loss of
Mm-hmm.
connection, loss of structure, the things that you didn't know the military was giving us until it was taken away. And then at the 18-month mark, people either re-enlist or collapse and settle, or do what I did and lose years of their life to alcohol and pills, because that's
How
quite readily
how
available.
long how long after service did you start feeling that kind of sense of like, oh shit, like now what? Was it an immediate thing? Was it a
No, I did what I just spoke about then. When I got out, I get a job, I'll be right. And I sort of worked extra hard, and working extra hard was a distraction for me, all the things
Yep.
that I was feeling. So distractions can come in many forms. Some are more productive than others, but they all create an imbalance, and you're not actually addressing the main problem. And it's funny how it affects everything in your life, but it's invisible to you, and it's not until another person speaks to that and people start saying things like the title of the show, fuck, I thought I was the only one.
You're not. Yeah, exactly. So here's another one that I thought was interesting. that PTSD, it's a and loss of identity, they're linked to reduced interoceptive awareness, big fancy term, which means that they're literally losing touch with the body signals. Like they're not in touch with themselves. And it's funny to read that because I've maintained this, that the military, when we're in the military or we're in our service, because this can be first responders too, right? But when we're in our service, we're super good at navigating in our environment. Like, if you took a whole bunch of service members and threw them in a room, that without saying a word, they would line up accordingly because we can see the rank or the name, the rank, the whatever, and we would know who to stay away from and who to not
Yeah.
like. And we're really good at strategy. Like we know how to network in our community to try to get stuff done. We're really good at
Yeah.
external navigation, but we're really crappy at internal navigation. We shut that down. We have no awareness about ourselves because we got a
Well said,
mission to
Donna,
do.
because th- that is so well said, because the military gave us clarity. Civilian life often gives us confusion,
Yeah.
and confused men and women suffer in silence.
But why do you think that is though? Why do you think the military I have an idea, but I'm just curious what your thoughts, like why the military does we thrive there and then when we come out, like you said, it's like this is confusing. Why is that?
Okay, so a man, I mean, this is where they think when you get out of the military, all of a sudden you'll live the peaceful life. And I say this, that a man without purpose doesn't suddenly become peaceful, right? He becomes dangerous to himself and potentially others too.
Hmm.
And in that vacuum, again, this world can survive us, can supply us all sorts of things. Drinking, pills, somehow it compensates, or in my mind, I tried to use that to compensate for the overthinking, the isolation, the rage, the numbness. And it's the hardest part wasn't leaving the military. It was wondering if I still mattered afterwards.
We will be right back after this short break. When you serve your community, you deserve a team that has your back. At Coming Home Well and the Transitioning Warrior Outreach, we proudly partner with Big Frog Custom T-shirts and apparel in New Braunfels, Texas. As a veteran-owned local business, Big Frog delivers top-quality custom shirts, team apparel, or personalized gear with unmatched service. Support the business that truly supports our heroes. Visit bigfrognb.com today. Thanks for sticking with us. Now back to the episode.
I, I think some of our struggle is I'm going to make it even really simpler. I think the beginning of our struggle, why I think civilian is confusing and more stressful in some ways than the military, I'm going to bring it to like deployments. When you talk to a civilian, you tell them this, they think you're kind of nutso, but people are like, oh my God. In some realms, even though we're running towards the proverbial fire, deployment's easier. People are like, how do you say that? You've
Yeah.
got people shooting at you or bombing you or whatever. I'm like, but we don't have to pay bills. I don't have to listen to the kids argue. I don't have to have an argument with a spouse. I don't have to deal with the neighbor's stupidity. I don't have to figure out the bills. And I know that I don't have to do laundry. I know people are like, that's kind of contrite. That's kind of simple. Everything's cut out of our way because we're supposed to go do that mission. That is the only thing we need to do, and you got to get that done. In the military, even our people understand. Like one of my biggest stressors coming out of the military, which you're going to laugh at, was remembering to make dental appointments. Why? Because the
Yeah.
military told me when I went to the dentist, they'd be like, "Hey, you're due for your dental." Okay, I get an email. Go make your appointment. And because I was told, here's your physical, you got to get your physical. Anything we had to do to be successful in our operation, anything ancillary around it, they did for us. You go to your appointment, you do this, don't miss it because we'll mess you up. Okay, okay, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
you come out into this world and there's a lot of other stuff going on,
mm,
and we don't have a mission. So you pulled everything that we were trained to do, and then you throw us out there into this. Don't forget your dental appointments, or I know it's going to sound also silly, picking out your clothes. My other biggest stressor, I'm like, oh, my closet had nothing in it because I just wore a uniform. And when I wasn't in uniform, I would be like in shorts and a t-shirt. I
yeah.
didn't have those I had a little bit for different things, but the majority is like day to day. I didn't have to think about what I was wearing. I was like, oh, is my OCPs or
Yeah.
my blues that day or whatever. Those were my choices. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree. There is this delightfully singular lifestyle that you get to live, and it's yeah, there is sure threat involved, but you get this mindfulness that you can't find anywhere else. This rather Zen mindfulness, and all these other abilities come online that you never even knew were inside your own skin when you're up against genuine threat as a collective.
Well,
And
you said that as the team, you're also in that team environment.
mm,
Like you're all going to make it happen. Even if that guy's the biggest jangalang
yep,
and you don't personally like him, when there's a mass casualty or the bombs are coming in, you're all doing it together. You're all
yeah,
making sure everybody's okay.
yeah. So and I might say this as well, because in the military, when you're actually on the job and you actually do have a good team around you, that I know that doesn't always happen, so I won't say this for everybody, but the loyalty and trust you have in your team is like a genuine superpower. It creates a state inside of us that impacts absolutely everything. And I know a lot of military people, when they get out of the military and they get into civilian world and they're in a situation, they said, well, last time I was in this situation, I was loyal to people and I showed trust. And then that trust and that loyalty gets betrayed.
Gets
And
misunderstood too, I think. I think
yeah,
people don't understand when we're putting out our trust and loyalty. I don't think people get, especially in a work environment.
yeah,
This is true story. True story. A guy told me this. I was on somebody else's podcast, and it was for a book I had written, and they were interviewing me. And he tells me this story that he worked for a like a subcontract to Lockheed kind of thing. And he was all excited when he got there because the stuff they were working on was equipment that him and his buddies used in the field. So he was so excited. He's like, yes. And he emailed some of the program managers to on the certain pieces of equipment and say, hey, listen, my buddies are out there in the field and they can like tell you what works and doesn't. You can make this improve it. And so to him, immediately we've got a connection. I'm gonna
yeah.
help build trust by
The trust that he hung up with his buddies got overlaid onto the wrong people.
absolutely. He is like, yes. And then his leadership says to him, hey, we have this widget that you're going to be the program manager over because it is under production and over price kind of thing. It's over budget and under production, so to speak. We need you to fix this. We need to fix the streamline this, right? Oh, well, heck yeah. Here comes all our Lean Sigma 6 training and our process improvement stuff that's all been rammed down all of our throats somewhere. And so he's like, yep. And he's got his team and he's putting up the process. And he's like, step 1 and 2 and 3. And oh, this is where things are getting hung up. And I asked him, I said, your team, was it made of other veterans? He goes, we had like one, not, and this will become relevant. He's like, we had like one. And I'm like, okay. And so they're going through the process. And he said, and we would get a win and I would celebrate it with the team, like, yes, and whatnot. And other groups, other program managers said to them, kid you not, can you stop celebrating so loudly because you're making our people like feel bad? And I'm like, that, come on. He goes, no, like really, like they were like, you're a little overzealous. So he's like, whatever. So now he's going through this. They're finding where the pain points are, and he has it all up on a board. What he didn't know was going on, his own team, again, many civilians, didn't understand all this zealous kind of like, let's go kind of thing, and felt like they were putting too much. They were getting pressured too much to perform, right? Because he's like, here we go, and da da da. I kid you not. I thought he was making this up. He goes, they went to HR and HR put me on administrative leave. And I said, what? No way. And he goes, I kid you not. And then he goes, I end up getting let go. And I'm like, why? And he said he was told by HR, you were a little too passionate. I was like, what? So I just sat there and I was like, are you serious? He goes, no, I'm dead serious. He goes, you were a little too passionate. They found now his leadership was actually happy with him, and there was some issues in HR there that was not good that they had to work out. But the point was that his own people didn't understand what he was doing and didn't understand the collaboration, the connection, the bond that for him, we have a commonality. We have a mission. We're going to complete the mission. And he threw all his
Passion.
exuberance and that and passion into that.
Yeah,
Say, we're going to do this
punished.
yeah. And they were like not liking it. And he ended up getting let go. And now when I heard that, I was like, it's killing me to hear this
That makes
because
you want to fucking rage, punch walls, because these slimy motherfuckers that are getting all the benefits from, you creating the results, cutting you in the ankles because, okay, and that's me speaking as an angry vet right now.
absolutely, but that's what it feels like.
But here's the thing though, here's what a lot of veterans experience. Like this guy, they speak a certain way, they carry a certain energy, and because the civilian world has never had to actually
Had their life put on the line.
have their life put on the line. So there's a certain intensity that comes when that happens. And if you carry that intensity, it doesn't matter if you're in a boardroom or a civilian setting or at a social occasion, people look at you like you're a freaking alien. And they're like, what? And this is where that guy has that experience of his absolute best, cleanest, most productive intentions get met with this guy's the problem.
So you know what was really sad? So after I hear this story, when I started talking to other people, as I was kind of like promoting the book and stuff, I asked them this question. Have you ever experienced something like people misunderstanding you or being told you're too passionate? And I am not kidding you. The number of times people said, yes. Like they said, I was too much. I was too intense. I was giving too much. I was over the top, was shockingly a high number. And then I hear these stories like the one I just told you, the Lockheed miner, and then other people saying these stories. And I was like, oh my God, they misunderstand us. They misunderstand. They don't understand what they have. The point is like when you get misunderstood, it's just another dig at the value and purpose. It's like, who am I? Am I not good enough? Am I a failure? Like, I was really good in the military. Like, I was doing it. And out here, I don't know what to do. I don't have my marketing, which is my uniform. I don't know how to tell you about me because I don't know what will translate. You don't want to know about my military stuff. What do I do and who am I? Who am I now without my uniform?
Donna, you touched on something there that is kind of massive. And this could be, it probably leans to more towards the men. Most men aren't actually scared of talking. They're scared nobody will understand.
So, like,
And
why bother then?
well, they'll have a few experiences where they've tried to communicate on Civilian Street, and they've had these experiences of being looked at like they're an alien, and then they sort of try and, well, I've got to pull myself in and be this filtered person. And yeah, these unspoken words, the words that you want to say, the passion you want to speak with, become like rocks around your heart. And I'm sure people listening to this could well be carrying conversations in their head and around their heart that have never left their mouth. And carrying that alone is exhausting.
Yeah.
With that sort of stuckness, again, the world we live in is very quick to sell you the alcohol, the pills, but there's a few upstream things that if we can get to, all of a sudden the downstream problems get resolved.
So that segues right into the breath work. And in regards to the, like, who we are, getting to that is really difficult. So before that, when you're talking about the breath work, I think you were talking about the upstream versus the downstream. And if you can get things like breath work in there, especially what I was starting to talk about, and I rabbit holed, but especially from somebody that was special forces commando. And I was kind of giving you crap about, like, oh, you're special forces commando and all this other stuff. But I think you finding breath work from somebody that of that stereotypical nature, hard ass, intense, always under control, I got this, you're going to be the hero of the day kind of person. And then you said, so then when I got out, I fell apart because that persona wasn't there anymore. I didn't know what I had, so I filled it with other crap until I found breath work. And tell me on your end, play a little theory game. If you would have found breath work before the bottle, what do you think your life would have looked like now? Not saying that things didn't happen and the right reasons for all that. There's always good that comes out of crap. But I mean, what do you think that could have looked like?
Okay, I'm the type of guy that I do it my own way until I'm completely broken and there's no other way to do it.
That's a commando special forces mentality all the way. Thank
Okay.
you for
So,
validating me.
so, so I probably wouldn't have valued it as much as what I did. I was aware of breath work. I didn't know it was a thing. And it was something I discovered when I was in Afghanistan. Just my body instinctively led me to do that. So I don't necessarily bring up breath work in the same conversation because but to answer your question is if I had access to the type of breath work that I needed, I would be able to shift my nervous system, because when your body creates a particular state, then you don't even know you're in it. You just are it. Okay. And if I could, and corporate burnout is very similar to military burnout in the way I describe it is, think of performance like a pyramid. Top of the pyramid are the goals you want to achieve. All right. And it feels good to hit targets and achieve goals. And then underneath that are all the actions you need to take to achieve those goals. And most people are in the thinking of, okay, here's what I want. Here are the actions I need to take. And in doing that, we create a go-get-'em attitude, but we also create the culture of grind, the culture of just put up, shut up, handle your load. You're not a man unless you're handling the load. And suffering is good because somehow, somewhere, someone's getting benefit from it, right? What I explain to guys is at the bottom of the performance pyramid that is unseen, you have your rest, recovery, and healing art forms. And they are art forms. And it's kind of obvious. In Afghanistan, we used to deliberately target the enemy's sleep. Not because we knew about the science of it, but we just knew if we could take it out for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of people get stuck in is in their healing journey, they'll go to someone who doesn't understand how to put them on the right path, and they'll say, look, here's the goal you want, and here's all the actions you need to take. They don't go about going into the state of being that you are in. If your nervous system feels alone, if your nervous system is fatigued, if you're not sleeping, if you're not feeling connected to people around you, if you're not feeling you have a purpose, that creates a certain state. And that state that you're in
Will drive
impacts the
choices.
actions you take. So it doesn't
Right.
matter if you take all the right actions. If you're in the wrong state, then you're not going to get the benefit from it. So
So,
what I
well, let me bring you back to the first question, though. You're not answering
Sure.
it. You're
Okay.
now self
Mhm.
going back to your then self. If you could get you that just came out of the military, if you could get him to understand the importance of the
Yeah.
breath work, how do you think your life would have been if you could have intervened, like you said, upstream?
Yep. Okay. So if I could intervene upstream, honestly, I wouldn't have wasted all those years on alcohol. I wouldn't have wasted all those years on pills. I wouldn't have wasted all those years being angry. I wouldn't have wasted all those years being in adrenal fatigue. I would have been able to down regulate myself. I would have been able to create the state that had me taking actions in line with who the fuck I was.
How do you think your family would have been impacted?
My kids would have done better at school. Uh, Almost hesitant to speak about what would have happened because I did get divorced, but I could honestly say in the period where I was looking for distraction over disruption of this poor state I was in, their life would have been a whole lot better. My then wife wouldn't have been walking around on eggshells because I
Yeah.
get angry for no reason whatsoever.
And I said that, and I wanted you to say that because I want people to understand that we don't know whether or not you'd still be married or not. We don't know if that was something, and that isn't even the relevant point. You said it perfectly. My then wife would not have been walking around on eggshells, would not have been. My kids would have done better at school. I said that because I want people to understand that it's way more than just you. When you come out of the military, we make excuses. And I say excuses because we get a pass when we deploy. You get a pass. Like, I got to go deploy. I got to do this stuff. And you get a kind of a pass when you come home because you got to decompress. You got to adjust. We get those passes. If we don't have that time, we're not going to be much good either. But when we're out of the military, those passes are gone. Now you've got you and who you are and how it's impacting your family. And now your family's got to deal with your happy ass all the time because they're not like, oh, in 2 months he deploys. Yeah. 3 weeks out, my husband would be prepping for deployment. And I'd be like, oh my God, it was the worst 3 weeks ever. It was just him constantly packing, repacking, and this. And it was all focused on deployment. And I was just like, can I just bring you to the airport now? Just go. Because it was disruptive. It
Mm-hmm.
was just,
Yep.
he wasn't doing anything to be mean. He was doing the right things to try to get ready. And he had a big deployment and he needed to focus on that. And I get it, but it's disruptive. But when you come home and there's no more of those deployments, there's no more reprieve for the family. And it's just you home all the time. You have an impact, a constant, consistent impact.
Donna,
So
you said something there that I just wanted to. So, when you were in that situation and your husband was packing, it wouldn't have been the fact that he was packing. The fact would have been that his body was in that moment, but his mind was somewhere else.
completely right. Yeah, it wasn't the packing. It was where his mind was because he wasn't my husband anymore and he wasn't dad anymore. He was a
At the
soldier that
dinner
was
table, he would have been a very different person.
and you know what I'm talking about, right? It's a whole thing. And speaking as a military person, the military person says, you bet your happy ass you want him that focused and you want him prepping and you want him to have his stuff in the right order and this and that and et cetera, et cetera. The spouse side says, but I've got kids, we've got kids. You're emotionally checked out from everybody. Where are you? If you're gone, then just go, all of you.
Donna, that's a brilliant bridge to securing what we're talking about in the way that there is a time and a place to be on mission, to get things done, to have your head so far into the game that you've got to be absolutely precise in everything. Nothing else matters but that. But imagine, and this is what breathwork did for me, it was able to have me transition out of that, do one thing well, doesn't matter, to actually into that rest, recover, heal, connect. I'm safe enough to be the warm partner, the loving father. I'm safe enough to be with these people right now and not be constantly scanning.
Perfect. And so here's the other thing. So it allows you to stay in the present, because this is what I see happen with our veterans, first responders. They come out of service and they get stuck. Like you said, they're stuck. And when they're stuck, that's all the other things that we talked about in all the other previous episodes of the series. There's anger, there's isolation, there's extra stress of just not having this value, purpose, et cetera, et cetera. There's sleep issues. All these things are going on. And guess what it prevents you from doing? It prevents you from finding your value and purpose on the other side because you're stuck.
Yeah.
And so here comes breath work. And again, here's my data dump here, the little things I found that I thought were interesting. That they said that clinical trials, this was late 2025, November 2025, it proved that rhythmic breathing exercises help participants shift from a reactive identity to a reflective identity, and it reduces their anxiety by 25%. Here's another one. And I'm going to, and the reason why this is a great transition into the breath work.
25%, that's about a six pack.
Yeah. Yeah. Good comparison, right? Or another one, this was about dopamine and transition. Neurobiological research in 2026 shows that micro missions, so these short-term little achievable goals, are necessary to re-regulate dopamine receptors that were overstimulated by high adrenaline careers, like which all of us had. And that when we are not belonging, you don't feel like you fit in anywhere, it's identified as one of the top 3 predictors for suicidal ideation in the veteran community. And in the first responder one, this was a November 2025, first responders experience a significant spike in cardiac events and mental health crisis within the first 12 months of retirement, largely attributed to the sudden loss of social structure and purpose. And I remember somebody telling me, and I don't have the data in front of me, for the military, they said their risk of heart attack post-retirement was within the first 2 years. So along those similar lines. But there are things that can be done. There was one here. Let me see if I can find the one that I saw. And let's see. Where did it go? They were talking about, oh, here it is. So the purpose morality link. This was from Harvard Health. 2026 research indicates that individuals who report a high sense of purpose have a 15% lower risk of death from all causes compared to those who feel purposeless. So why I throw out all those different things is to say, when we don't have this purpose, we increase our risk of death, cardiac event, suicide attempt. But when we find it, we are decreasing that and we're finding our sense of purpose. There's good things that come out of that, both physically and mentally. And the connector to get from point A to B is this breath work, to learn that breath work, to learn to become more reflective, to take down all this inflammation that we have, to be able to heal. It's the beginning of healing. And when we can start doing that, we can start stepping out anymore. Maybe we have less anger. Maybe we can handle social situations. Maybe we're not isolating more. And when we're doing that, we're going to go find our sense of purpose and value in something else, whether we are volunteering. I've had many people that they go volunteer and they're like, this is like the best thing I ever did. I know a ton of veterans, they volunteer for, it's called Guardians of the Children here. They're a biker group. They look as scary as get out. You know what they do? They ride their bikes, they go to the court when the child has to testify in a custody case and there, or a could be abuse, could be anything. And they stand there as support for those kids. Those people are dedicated. And there's a lot of veterans that do that stuff. They find this new way. But in order for us to get from point A to point B, something's got to connect. And that is where breath work comes in to start this process to be able to get us to do more things.
We're stepping away for a quick break to hear from V2M Veteran Magazine. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the interview.
Looking for stories that truly matter to our military community? Discover V2M, the Veteran Magazine. Read online at v2mag.com.
Yeah, because when people are in these states and they're fatigued and they've got all this other stuff going on, they don't want an extra 6 things to remember. I didn't become a breathwork coach because I thought breathwork was what I wanted to do. I recommend breathwork because it's the most easily accessible way. It's the easiest win people can have to turn 2 cents worth of energy into $2 worth of energy, to give you energy capital again, to give you something that literally tonight can improve the quality of your sleep. And there's the version of you, and I'll say it like this: there's 2 completely different types of people in this world, and they're both you. There's the you that uses their breath to self-regulate and get amazing night's sleep that have you waking up feeling recharged and with more energy becomes more options, right? And then there's the version of you that isn't using breath work. Probably, if you're like me, drank a lot of alcohol, slept terribly, woke up hating life, and I discovered that I didn't have to die to go to heaven or hell. I had a pretty good way of creating it here. So it's the easiest way that I've found, using your own breath to down-regulate, to rest, recover, heal, restore, to create the state needed that people, A, I can be around this person. B, you're happy to be around them. C, you're not exhausting yourself before you get to a place because you already scanned for threats, and in your mind you're already dealing with those threats. So wherever you're going, you're turning up exhausted. So that threat response that we have, that we're holding on to tightly, that once served our survival, it's actually like slowly killing us. We tend to think that the second we let that go, something bad's going to happen and it's going to be our fault. And that kind of thinking is fed by not sleeping when we're in positions of fatigue. So the point I'm trying to make here is I don't get people to do 1,000 things to change. I get them to do one thing, and that is the breathing 5-10 minutes before going to sleep, and the breathing 5 or 10 minutes as they get up. Because that state shift is really impacted by the 5 minutes going to sleep and the 5 minutes waking up, 2 times that veterans really struggle with. And especially at 2 a.m. if you wake up, your head's going a million miles an hour. Even if you don't think breath work is helping, you're far better circulating that oxygen, that alkalization of the body, that anti-inflammatory. You're far better laying there doing breath work than staring at the ceiling, ruminating on all the bad stuff.
I think if people can learn, so when you when you add the military, you got like way more time to think, which is not always a good thing. So like anger, I think of, if people can start feeling anger coming on, they get enough self-awareness to know, like, I'm feeling the signs. Because in the beginning, you don't feel it. We don't feel stress because we are stressed. We live in it all the time. So when you get away from it and then it comes at you, then you have a chance to actually feel it. It's not a great feel, but you can feel it. So say anger.
Anger gets used, though. I used, well, a lot of veterans I know myself, we used anger as a source of energy. Can do something, and I'm going to get angry about it. But that was like writing a check for $1,000 when you've only got $10 in the account. It just puts you further under.
But you don't know that when you're doing a mission.
No.
You don't know any of that. I did the mission.
That's encouraged. That's
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's all encouraged. So you have that, but let's say now you're out and somebody is listening to this and it's like, oh my God, yeah, I feel the rage coming on. Breath work. Can you intercept it with in our series we did on anger? You talked about like go in the bathroom and breathe. And so can you do that? Can you intercept that with breath work? Can you stop for a second and go, okay, I need to go take a breath? That to me is the win. So you do it in the morning, that's great, and you do it at night. If you can intercept yourself and going, I don't feel right, even if you don't even know what it is totally, and you can intercept with breath work to bring it down, dude, that literally we're saving lives.
True, but it's not a natural thing. Like breath work, I know works, but because we've been doing it our whole lives, it's not like a natural thing. So when I get people to create breath work, I say, look, forget about everything else. Just work on going to sleep and waking up, and then that sets your sense of normal. Because a lot of veterans go to sleep stressed and they wake up feeling stressed, so they think that stress is normal, right? So if you can give that sense of peace, power, connection, confidence in those spaces when you're going through your day, if you're going outside of that zone of peace, power, connection, then then you've got more of a chance because
I think that's what I was trying to get at is like you now can feel you're outside the normal box. You know what I mean? And you have a tool to utilize that. So I think that's kind of the
and me, it does need to be guided breath work. For me to get a medicinal response from my breath, I do have to listen to it for me to focus on it, because when I'm in that state of disconnect, almost has me so tightly locked down that it's almost impossible to breathe. Have a little prompt there going, breathe in, breathe out. Or sometimes I'll pinch my fingers and count my fingers, and all I'm doing is focusing on the pressure in my hand, or I'll grab a thumb and put it in my rib, and then I'll put a finger in my rib, because I need that external prompt. Because if I'm just in my own head, it's like my own head almost wants me to stay in my head on that loop, scanning for threat in a state of disconnect. And I've never been able to outthink my own thoughts, but the reason I feel confident about breath work is you can't outthink our own thoughts, but you can outrank it. Okay, your mind is like a corporal, but your breath is like the CO. And when you access that, you can outrank your thinking mind and bring everything back into alignment, giving yourself an actual sense of what you really want, as opposed to thinking what I really want, knowing I'm not getting it, getting more frustrated. I can't do this myself. And like again, at the end of the day, if you're like me, there's no shortage of distractions you can pour over that.
like an override. We were talking about all the factors of the breath work. Let's go through we've done this through most of the series where we went through a little breath work session to give somebody that, because you said you're like, I need guided to help them through that. And you're very humble and quiet about this, but I will tout it for you. But you have an app that people can get on to hear. If you want to hear Tim every day, you can get on the app, because Tim is the one that does it. I hear Tim, and the app is called Breathworks in Bed.
Breathwork in Bed, and yes, my voice is on there, but there's a number of voices on there.
Yes, there is.
Military guys saying, I don't want to hear the voice of a guy going to sleep. So there are some lovely feminine voices on there too.
That's right. We don't want to hear dude when I'm in bed.
Yeah.
Well, you might not, but
it was just the idea of just a guy's voice. They've got for this group of guys that I spoke with. They just wanted to hear a woman's voice going to sleep.
You know what's funny? So I do guided like meditation, and I want to hear a guy's voice.
Yeah,
and it's not a believe it or not, it's actually a specific voice. It's not a sensual thing. It's not a sexual thing. It's none of that. There's a certain calming thing that I need to hear. It could be a guy's, it could be a girl's. A lot of girls' voices are too high for me, and I don't care for that. I need calmer, a lower voice, a lower tone for me. But that's not
Frequency
everybody.
you need to hear is obviously in the masculine
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly awesome.
Yeah.
And
So you can pick. That's the nice thing. You can
yeah,
pick.
that is true. There is a choice. And again, I've always thought that if I wanted to change my eating habits and I could have Uber Eats deliver the best food ever exactly to my door when I needed it, well, then I'd probably start eating a whole lot better. So wouldn't it be nice to have breathwork Uber Eated in exactly when you needed it? And that's what breathwork in bed does. You simply just tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and then it just falls out of your phone exactly when you need it. Now, the high-tech part is not the breathwork in bed app. It is what it gives you access to, your own lungs. And what you're going to discover, like myself and a lot of other people have, is we do not own a set of lungs. We own a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. And if you can be the person that accesses that medicine and can change your state on will, you're not going to waste years of your life like I did to pills, alcohol, and all these other distractions that do half a good a job.
Right.
I'm not against pills, time and a place for everything, but no one's talking about the power of your own breath. And that's what I tend to have people see the benefits there before they bridge any gap.
Did a whole series just on medication. We talked about that. And so it's important. So, all right. So let's do this for the wrap up. You use me as a guinea pig all the time and people only hear this. It's audio. It's probably good that it's just audio. You do not want, and you should all blow your nose before you do this. I've learned the hard way.
That microphone guard was guarding more than just the
Oh my
popping
God.
sounds.
And you will learn. You know I learned, what I thought was hilarious. It was very interesting. When you don't think you're stuffy and you find out you're stuffy, like in the morning I wake up and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some of this. And then I do what you tell me to do. And I go take a breath in and I can't. And I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't even know I was stuffed up. I didn't feel like it. So.
Well, this is the benefit of doing breath work, especially in the mornings. You open up your access to sort of energy. Think of a tree. When I'm talking to my daughter, I'll say, what would happen if that tree turned half of its leaves inwards?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wouldn't get all the energy it needs. So think of your lungs like tree branches. And unless we truly open them, we're not creating the energy absorption, exchange, connection.
Makes sense.
And what people are going to discover is as we open our lungs and connect to ourselves powerfully, it actually leads into powerful connections outside of ourselves too. So what I say to people is I say, if all you had to do to make the connections to people in your world, the people that you care about, and achieve the things that you want, is breathe for a certain period and open up that energetic landscape inside of yourself, would you actually do it? So that's what we're about to do now. Enough talking about it. Let's
do it.
I just have to ask everybody a small little question because everything is done best when we invite it in. Donna, do you give permission to your very own breath to make every single cell in your body feel really, really good?
Absolutely.
Do you give permission to your breath to make your conscious thinking mind feel really, really good?
Yes, sir.
Easy peasy. Do you give permission to your own breath to make your unconscious mind feel really, really good?
Hell yeah.
Awesome. So all we're going to do is exhale, and with our mouth closed, we're going to snort through our nose and point our nose through the ceiling, and we're going to snort as fast as we can. So exhale, blow it out, blow it out, blow it out. And then mouth closed, snort that nose, point it to the ceiling. Fast as you can. Okay, now hold it, give it a bit of a wriggle, give it a bit of a wriggle, give it a bit of a wriggle, wriggle your spine, wriggle out any tension, and then nice big sigh. Ah.
Makes me lightheaded. Probably because there's not enough oxygen up there to begin with.
Well, when we start breathing properly, it's a bit like the first time we run around the block. Our capacity isn't quite there and it feels a little clunky. But as your capacity builds, you can find yourself being able to receive more of it and be in the moment. Okay.
That's translation for like we blow off PT for 2 years post getting out of the military, and then we go for the first jog.
Yeah. And you know what we're going to do? All we're going to do, instead of, because the wriggle opens up your chest and that can make you a little lightheaded. All we're going to do now is breathe in, look up, but then just let out a big sigh, like a, ah. I want you to be brave enough, give yourself permission to make a verbal noise, okay? Because when we make noise, that actually helps, that creates a sound, a frequency, and that actually helps unlock blockages in our vagus system.
The things I do for this podcast. All right.
So you're gonna hear Donna sigh in a second. All right.
Hopefully it does not sound like a rhino.
We're gonna do everything that we did before. We're gonna blow it out, and when we're all the way out, snort it in, hold it for a second, and then let out a really big sigh. In it in, and then when you're ready, go out.
It's like I'm choking. Okay, I wasn't as lightheaded on that one.
Yeah. And you can't see this, but Donna and me have our teeth showing, we're smiling. Teeth and smiles pop out when we breathe properly. That is a natural occurrence. All right.
Because, and the reason why I'm laughing is I can see myself on video and know I look like an idiot too. That would be the other reason I'm laughing. But it's okay because it's all for good health.
Well, to me, ancient army saying, if it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid. All right.
That's a good one.
Well, consider that when I wasn't breathing, I was doing what was socially accepted, which was drinking a lot. And if all I had to do to save all that money on alcohol and all the consequences, and I'm not against alcohol, but I'm just saying when I was using it to fix an imbalance, and nothing wrong with being imbalanced, but how we correct those imbalances, that's the determining factor. And nobody right now, and this is why I feel like I've been put on this earth, is to give people natural and immediate options underneath their own skin before they start looking outside of their own skin. All right?
Yeah. If you don't fix on the inside, how can you help on the outside? That's a t-shirt.
What we're going to do now.
Okay, what's next?
What would be the best one? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to breathe in, and I want you to just take a breath in and then hum all the way out. So if you're listening, just breathe in, and then just hum through your nose, mouth closed. See if you can get it all the way out. Feel those vibrations. I'll explain afterwards why we're doing this. It's actually super beneficial. Fantastic. Okay.
I was just saying, like, why are we doing this one?
Yeah. Okay. So here's a funny thing. Our nose produces a particular gas that only gets produced when we breathe through our nose, not through our mouth. And that gas has a lot of health benefits. And if you were to go to a chemist and say, hey, Mr. Chemist, pharmaceutical guy, or you could be in a health shop and say, listen, I want something that's going to help my physical performance, improve my recovery, give me mental clarity, give me an improved immune system, improve my sexual function, and improve my sleep. How much do you think you'd pay for all of those things?
A lot of money. If you were in the military, they would just give you Motrin. That would fix all of it, right? That's what kidding. But people pay a lot of money for that stuff.
Well, that's right. And the gas that I'm talking about that gets naturally produced through our nose is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, they gave it to professional athletes to help oxygen absorption because it's a vasodilator, but it also had a sexual health function benefit to it. So Viagra is full of nitric oxide because it's one of the things that help sexual function. And I will speak to this for us guys. Our longevity is relative to our sexual function. Okay, so
that's true. Use it or lose it.
Yeah, and the reason why we hummed out our nose is that humming increases nitric oxide uptake by like 2,000%.
Really? The things you learn.
Because we're creating a frequency, a sound, and that increases uptake. Now, I'm going to show you how to increase that even more. Now, the activities that we've done up until now, like, can be discreetly done in public, where if I'm feeling like I need to reset my head, I will pinch my fingers and deliberately breathe in more. Now, people don't know this, but in their two fingers, their pointer finger and their index finger, if you pinch them on your thumb, it'll help your inhale. Okay? And I don't breathe when I'm supposed to unless I pinch my fingers. Because if I'm just breathing normally, I'll stay in my head. But if I pinch my fingers, I'll deliberately breathe and it'll help me breathe more. So everyone listening right now, I just invite you to exhale, and then as you inhale, halfway through, pinch your fingers. So I invite you to have your fingers ready to pinch, exhale, and then start breathing in, and then hit those buttons and breathe in more. Open, 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 open. You can give it a wriggle and then just let it out with a okay. And just
I don't know why that wriggle makes me lightheaded. Whew.
Yeah, the wriggle I don't often recommend people do unless they're in a safe environment.
Lightheaded with it.
Okay, so just Donna, just play with the idea of pinching your fingers and then focusing on your inhale, because this is the circuit breaker, and this is one of the reasons people can't access their breath when they're in a state, because they don't know they're in it. But if you pinch your fingers, you can snort that nose and really try and snort that nose as powerfully as possible. And everybody, it's a really healthy sign that Donna is yawning right now, because that's her vagus nerve purging out. That's all the stuck energy yawning.
See?
Okay.
I don't even know that I'm doing the right things. It's a first for everything. All right.
Play with that. So just
Okay.
have your power buttons ready.
Power
and then
buttons
pinch
ready.
them and then inhale rapidly through your nose. And then just let it out. You can let it out with a or a whatever you want.
Okay, here's a funny thing. And tell me if you can explain this. When I breathe in and you have me pitch my fingers and I do that, I can only breathe in so far, but I swear to God, I can exhale for like 5 minutes. I mean, like, for some reason I have an endless amount of exhale, but I can't seem to breathe in as much, which, go figure that one. What does that mean?
It means you talk too much, Donna.
Damn, shut down right there.
I should get your husband in there. She doesn't take breaths in between sentences. She can exhale so much more and shape the exhale into words.
I'll own it, dude. I will own all of it. Little did I know, that's why I'm so set up for a podcast, because I just run my mouth, right? And it's perfect.
In all seriousness, what our inhale muscles will get to a certain point. Now, if you look, while we're here, if you want to have a bit of fun with this, your inhale muscles inhale to a certain point, can use the way air works, like with pressure systems, to get more air into your system. So if you want to have a little bit of fun with this,
okay,
breathe in rapidly through your nose, and then at the end, suck air in through your mouth. It's going to sound like a gasp. So I'll so you can hear it. The sound you're going to make is like a snort through your nose, which will, right? And then at the top, you're going to go and make a gasp, and then so you're going from your nose to your mouth. It takes a bit of timing, but just give that a try, Donna. So exhale, snort through your nose, and then at the top, open your mouth and suck it in through your mouth. And you notice how you can sort of go, it's almost shocking the amount of air that you can fit in, and just let it go. Don't hold it. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So
that definitely takes a little bit of coordination and practice.
A little bit of timing and coordination, but when you snort through your nose and then the last 5% you gasp through your mouth. So it'll sound like this. And so when I was at 30 doing my Special Forces selection, I wasn't as fit, as strong, possibly even as smart as the younger guys beneath me. I understood how to breathe properly, and I understood that the body had a ranking structure for blood. And like if your brain feels like it's not getting enough blood, it'll say, I'm more important than the rest of you guys. I'm getting the blood. I'm going to pull rank. I'll knock you out. and then the blood's going to come to me. It's automatic. We don't even have to think about it. So it is with our lungs. Lungs are pretty important for breathing, and our system knows that. But unlike our brain, our diaphragm, our breathing muscles, massive muscle group. And it can take up to 1/3 of your total blood volume. All right?
Yep.
So as much as it may feel awkward learning how to breathe and focusing on your breathing, if you can go to places where other people won't to get this strength, you'll have strength where other people don't.
Mm.
Okay? And breath isn't just strength muscles that can do stuff. Breath affects your nervous system, your state of being, how you are.
And it's like anything, it's a condition. The diaphragm's a muscle, so you got to condition it like anything else. Like
This
if
is
we,
why
yeah, go
This
ahead.
is why guys younger than me were wondering why they called me Old Man Tomo could keep going when they were completely exhausted, because I knew how to breathe properly and I didn't have to work as hard to get more breath in, and my diaphragm was conditioned. Now, I like introducing people to their own bodies because some of the most powerful parts of you are not seen. Okay, this is unseen strength. You can't go down the beach and show off your breathwork muscles.
Right. There's no
But
six
it's
pack
there
for
when you
breath
need
work.
it.
It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's funny when you're saying this, it made me think back. So I was a trainer, as a personal trainer for a while, and I remember teaching people to run, and I breath was everything. So when you go out running and you haven't for a while, what do? You start gasping because you're not breathing deep. And so when you're not breathing deep, guess what you're building? Lactic acid. And when you're building lactic acid, your muscles start seizing up. And when your muscles aren't going to do it, you're depleted. The winner is always the person that can clear the lactic acid the best. I don't care what level you're at. Olympics, by 100th of a second, they cleared that lactic acid that much better. So when I would teach them to run, I would do it on hut 2, 3, 4, because I realized, like in my running, when I'd run, if you do hut, that was the hard blowout. It doesn't let you start hyperventilating. You go, and 2, 3, 4 was breathing in. Hut 2, 3, 4 was breathing in. And it took some work, and you got coordinated, but eventually you didn't sound like a windbag. It was all coordinated, and that's how you started running. And I kid you not, I had a girl, and if I would not have seen this, I don't think I would have believed somebody telling me. But they were getting ready for their PT test, and she's like, my running sucks. She was this little girl, like this petite built, and she's like, my run time is horrible, et cetera, et cetera. I shaved 3 minutes off her run, which for those of you guys that like don't really run a lot, 3 minutes is an extraordinary amount of time to take off somebody's run in 6 weeks, just from teaching her, because she became more efficient. And when she became more efficient, her muscles got oxygenated and blood flow was happening, and they weren't getting all seized up from the lactic acid. And away we were, right? But between her training that I was doing with her and getting her body to clear more efficiently and the breathing, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow. So that's from the physical aspect. That's oxygenation and whatnot.
Donna, I also need to just bolster what you said there, because what you showed her was access to free, unseen power. We live in economizes our ignorance of our own bodies and will sell you, oh, if you want to shave off 3 minutes, you buy this product, you buy these shoes. You can't leave the house without these kind of shoes on your feet or these products in your veins or in your mouth. I really feel for people who want to improve their life, because they can often be turned in circles by marketers wishing to exploit their best intentions. And I just knew when I was in the hurt locker and experiencing a medical system that didn't seem to want to make me better, that seemed to want to keep me sick. I'm like, if I ever get into a position of strength, I want to connect people as rapidly as possible to the good stuff, because then they have a chance to make positive changes permanent. And for me, it's the easiest way to do it, like you said, is through your breath.
And I'm gonna caveat on this, and we're gonna wind this down. If oxygen wasn't so important to us, we wouldn't have things like hyperbaric chambers which is a whole different level. That's pressurized, and in a hyperbaric oxygen therapy, you are oversaturating the environment with oxygen and putting pressure on it to pressurize your body to absorb this oxygen. And why is that important? Well, because that's for the next level of things going on. What we're talking about is like resetting your nervous system and bringing stuff down and starting that beginning of healing. When you get into stuff like hyperbarics, you are able to help heal injuries, wounds, TBIs, dealing at PTSD, like because they're when they're associated with like TBIs and your brain is making collateral neural pathways because of damage to the brain. Therapy is helping heal. So if we are saying, oh my gosh, medically, we have dive chambers for healing, why in the world would we not think just our own breath is not worth something? Because it is. Yeah. So, I mean, really, if we're doing it on a medical level, we can do it on our own level.
Yeah. Yes. And the way I explain it to the regular everyday veteran is I say, when we breathe, we take on the nature of air. Just like if you drink alcohol, you take on the nature of alcohol. It chemically alters your system.
Yep.
You cannot not be impacted by that, right? Air has a certain nature, and I sort of encourage people, try and grab the air in front of you. Air can't be held. You can't grab it. And when we breathe, we take on the nature of air, and we no longer can hold on to our physical tension. We can no longer hold on to our mental tension. And the healing that takes place is the blockages that we have within our body, the blockages we have within our mind gets removed with this oxygen. And this is why the healing pathways and the state creation, in my experience, does need to be guided. It's good to have access within yourself just to give yourself a clearing throughout the day. Remember to breathe. But then if you want to get into the medicinal side, a guided experience is a great way to get into those areas that are sort of upstream of all the current unworkability. I don't say problems, I just say unworkability.
All right. I think
I did want to finish what we were doing before. So humming in the uptake, but I want to show you a little hack that will allow you to stack your humming exhale.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up with this one. Go for it.
All I'm going to get you to do is with your right thumb, cover your right nostril. Okay? And and sort of push your hand a bit more across your face, and with your right pointer finger, gently restrict the other side. So your thumb is blocking it completely, and your left and your right finger is restricting the air. So you're gently pinching on your nose. Okay, I'm sounding funny because I'm pinching my nose.
But you're not fully blocking the other side.
Not fully blocking the side with your pointer finger on.
Okay.
Okay. And so all we're going to do, Donna, is just breathe in with me and then hum through the nose and restrict the hum through by pinching the nose. So hum and pinch your nose so air is still coming out, but it's restricted. And just get that vibration. You'll be able to hum longer because you've restricted it. And if you're still humming, try sticking your jaw forward. So humming through your nose, jaw forward, and you might notice that humming goes through your sinuses into your ears.
Thank God I blew my nose.
All that up. And guess what? You're pushing nitric oxide, this really healing thing, through your, are they eustachian tubes?
Eustachian tubes. Yeah.
So let's just try that again. Let's breathe in, and then block one side and restrict the other side so you can hum and you can feel like there's a little bit of pressure going through your sinuses and then pushing your jaw forward as you're humming. So if you're listening at home, deep breath in, right thumb on one side, and just pinch the air off so you can feel that air backing up. And then with your jaw forward, you can feel it going into your sinuses. It kind of feels like it's going through your whole brain.
Yeah, it kind of vibrates all of it. And I never realized how plugged I am until I start doing breath work with you. And then I'm like, God dang, I'm so plugged. And I don't feel like I am on a day-to-day basis. I don't.
Well, what you're experiencing right now is when people wake up in the morning, because they've been sedentary for so long, you've got all these, you called it plugs, all this blocked energy in different places. And if you just took a few minutes to breathe and work those points, your feet swing over the edge of the bed in a very, very different state. But we just think it's normal. We just think it's normal to shut up until I've had a coffee. Nothing wrong with coffee, but I can get more from it if I unplug myself to start with.
We think it's Texas with allergies. Like, it was so bad out here. Like, it literally is like, I don't feel like I have any really allergies out here. My eyes aren't itchy and all that stuff. But when I do the breath work stuff, I'm more blocked than I realized. And I'm like, God dang, I have to literally clean out.
Really healthy. Like, I always recommend people, if you're going to do breath work in the morning, do it in bed, but then try and get to a place you can see the sun and really work the breath for a minute or two with a few holds. And all of a sudden, even though there's nothing in your lungs, you'll start coughing up all this stuff you never knew was there.
Lovely.
And that's literally like scraping off the peanut butter off your leaves in the sun. Okay, if you want your leaves to collect as much sun as possible, which your lungs are little branches, patterns in nature repeat themselves. So doing a bunch of breath work, coughing up whatever you need to, will allow that energy exchange. And having that sun on your face, in your light, that's Mother Nature's antidepressant, basically.
Well, at the basic exchange of the lungs is the alveoli, and the alveoli are little tiny, little bubbles, so to speak, for simplicity. And that's where the actual oxygen exchange goes through with the rest of the body. And so if those are what we call atelectasis, the fancy term, which is collapsed a little bit, like the base of your lungs, then you're not getting that exchange anymore. So it is so important to open that up, and you do realize what's working and what's not. And as veterans and first responders that have had like whole careers or like long times of service, whether that's 6 years or 16 or 26 years, we start realizing like, oh my God, like I have a eustachian tube that's constantly clogged. All right. I think we did a really good series, and I think we picked apart all kinds of aspects of the mental and the physical and the psychological things that come out of the transitioning out of our service, and how breath work can help all of that in so many realms. So you can go listen to the series and all these different episodes on different aspects of it. So what are your thoughts, Tim?
I want to thank the people that have been listening, because these guys are seekers of information, and knowledge is super powerful, especially these days. Okay, it's actually rare to find powerful information. We're in an age of marketing. We're not in an age of information, as I've experienced it. First 6 pages of Google are marketers. So for the people that have listened and integrated this and can see it, I encourage them to ask themselves this question. How many other people do you think are up against what you're up against? And give that a real number. Don't leave it as a lot. It could be 10, it could be 200,000, it could be 2 million. And then just know that if you can find a way forward for you, you're going to find a way forward for them. And those people, a lot of them you haven't met yet, are going to be saying, I'm so glad that after you listen to Tim and Donna having an authentic, quirky conversation, you chose to move yourself forward an inch. And I encourage you to think that you're not just breathing for you, you're breathing for all those other people that are up against what you're up against. And if all you had to do was take a few deep breaths to regulate yourself and all those other people, would you do it?
Hopefully the answer is yes. I think I just want to end it with this, that our whole purpose of doing this was for the audience to give them a resource to utilize, because we know how hard transition is. We've done it. We've crashed and burned on different levels. And unfortunately, we own some of those t-shirts that I think, and maybe I might be speaking a little for you, Tim, nobody would choose to go through that process. But I think at the same time, we're thankful we went through these processes so we can be of service to other people to say, we get it, right? And we have that wisdom. So this series specifically, and not this series, but this last episode was on value, purpose, loss of identity kind of thing. And I want you guys to understand that your value was never, ever in the uniform. It was always the person that was wearing it. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. And from Tim and I, we thank you. And we want you all to go take a breath. Hey, thanks for sitting with us today. Remember, you aren't alone, and you definitely don't have to carry this weight by yourself. To find more community resources, head over to cominghomewell.com. And to start using your breath as a tactical tool tonight, check out Tim's work at breathworkinbed.com.au. Don't forget the AU. Take a deep breath, and we'll see you next time.